everybody, this is Mrs. T and this is my very first YouTube video tutorial. This is a beginner's tutorial for Photoshop. This is for somebody who is opening Photoshop for the very first time. I teach middle school ages 11 to 14, and this is how they get started when they come into my classroom. So the first thing that I want to show you is how to open Photoshop in default. Because in the classroom setting, students will come in one period and they will move things around in Photoshop and change settings and then just close it out, and the next student who opens Photoshop, everything will be moved around and settings will be changed, and sometimes it's difficult for them, especially being new Photoshop users, to find what they're looking for or understand what's going on. So for that reason, I give them that little bit of a tool to open up in default, and that helps them out quite a bit. And you might find it useful for you as well. So to do that, you're going to go to your Photoshop icon, and you want to hold down on a Mac. I'm using a Mac. I will give you the shortcuts for a PC as well. But for a Mac, it's Command, Option, Shift. And then while holding those three keys, you're going to click on the Photoshop icon until this question comes up. It's asking you, delete the Adobe Photoshop settings file. You can let go of the keys once that pops up, and you're going to say, yes, I want to delete that, because those settings are the settings of all the changes that the students made or that you made the last time that you were on computer. All right. Now, it's asking me if I want to start a new file or do I want to open a file. And in this case, we're going to open a file, because if I go to my desktop down here, I have a folder with my name on it, and I have a coloring page that I got from a Google search. And this is the exact same coloring page that my students use when they do this tutorial in class. You're welcome to use it. I will put it down below and link it so that you can grab it if you want to. Otherwise, please feel free to get any coloring page that makes you happy. All right, so I'm going to say File, Open. And then I need to navigate to my folder, which is on my desktop, and grab that Dinosaur's coloring page. And there it is. Okay, now I want to set this up in postcard size. We call this the Dinosaur postcard in class. So postcard size is 6 inches wide by 4 inches high, and I also want to give it a PPI, a resolution of 300 pixels per inch PPI. And that is because we're designing this for print. Since it's going to be a postcard, we might print it and send it to somebody, but when you're designing for print, you really want to stick with 300 PPI. All right, so what I want to do, since I just pulled this off the internet, I have no idea what size it is or what its resolution might be. So I'm going to go up to Image, Image Size, and that'll tell me what I'm dealing with here. So if you look at your settings right here, this happens to be 11 inches wide, 8.5 inches high, and its current resolution is 72, which is great for web design or electronic devices, but not so great for print. So we need to change that. So I'm going to say, okay, I didn't make any changes yet, but I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I want you to look to the left side of your workspace, and that is your Tools panel. And you've got lots of tools here. But if you go down to the 5th tool, that's the one we want to use to resize this image. That is called the Crop tool. So I'm going to click on that. And when I clicked on that, you'll notice that the panel up top changed. This is the Tools Option panel, and every time I'm on a different tool, you'll notice that that panel changes, because that helps you with that specific tool. Okay, so all of these settings are for the Crop tool. Right now it's on ratio, and I want to change that to width by height by resolution, because I have a specific width, height, and resolution that I'd like this to be. So my width, remember, was 6 inches. My height was 4 inches, and my resolution, I wanted that to be 300 pixels per inch. Now, it's already giving me a preview of where that crop would be, and actually it looks awesome. I don't need to change a thing. I can just come up here and accept that. However, if you're cropping something and it's out of bounds, you can move the image around, you can move the crop around and do all sorts of stuff like that. Okay, but I want to get it back kind of to where it was because I think that looked pretty good right there. And then I'm going to accept. Okay, so you can check this, by the way, by going back up to image size. And now you'll notice that your width is 6 inches, your height is 4 inches, and your resolution is 300 pixels per inch. All right, the next thing I want to point out to you on your Photoshop workspace is over here on the right side, and this is your layers panel. Your layers panel is really important. You can't really do much in Photoshop without it. So you will always have this open, no question about it. So right now I have just one layer and it's called background, and it'll always be called, that first layer will always be called background, and it's always going to be a locked layer. You may want to keep that locked or you may want to unlock it. It just depends on what you're doing. For this project, we really don't need to unlock it, but I'm going to go ahead and unlock it because I'd like to rename it, and I just want to show you how to do that. So what you do is you go right over to that layer and double click on it, and a window will pop up here. And this is where you're going to rename. So I'm just going to rename this to line drawing and say OK. Now if we go back over to the layers panel, you'll see that the name has changed to line drawing and the little lock has disappeared. Okay. At this point, I can turn the visibility of this layer off with this eye. So if I click on the eye, you'll notice that over here now, I just have this checkerboard, and that checkerboard means that it's transparent. There's nothing there. So if you ever see that, that's what that's telling you. Okay, so if I turn that back on, there's my one layer. Okay, but I want to start a new layer. So what you want to do is come down here to the bottom of your layers panel, and this icon right here is your new layer icon. You want to click on that, and you'll notice that now I have two layers over here, layer 1 and line drawing. If I turn line drawing off, layer 1 has nothing on it, so I still have the checkerboard there. All right, and I'm going to rename this to eggshells because that's what I'm deciding that I want to color first. I'll color the eggshells first. So I'm going to double click on that layer 1 and just rename it to eggshells. Okay, so I have two layers, my eggshells and my line drawing. What I need to do is I need to select the eggshells and then color them with the paint bucket tool. So there are so many selection tools in Photoshop, and it really depends on what you're doing to help you decide which one you want to use. But since this is a black and white image, the magic wand tool is going to be the best choice for us, the easiest, and it's going to make a great selection. Come back over to your tools panel, go down to the fourth tool, and this is not the magic wand, but this is called the quick selection tool, which is also a very useful selection tool, but the magic wand is going to be better for this project. But you'll notice that the quick selection tool has a little triangle in the lower right hand corner. Whenever you see that, that means there's another tool bundled with that. So what you need to do is just click and hold, and you'll be able to see other tools as well. So I'm going to go down to the magic wand tool, and now the magic wand tool is on top. All right, so that is activated. So with the magic wand tool, if I come over here and I click on the egg, I want you to notice what happened. The selection selected the whole thing. The reason that is because look over here on your layers panel, I'm on the eggshells layer. And if I turn off that line drawing, remember there's nothing on the eggshells layer. So I just told Photoshop to select nothing. There's nothing there, so it just selected everything. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to be on the line drawing layer, which has our actual image when we're making these selections. So first I want to deselect what I've already selected, and you can do that by going up to select, then deselect, and notice the shortcut for that is Command D, and I use that all the time, and in fact you'll be using that often in just this first tutorial. So Command D, and that gets rid of the selection. All right, now that I'm on the right layer, let's try that again. So I'm going to select that first egg, and this time it selected, it did the right thing. So what the magic wand is doing is it's looking at the pixel color of where you're clicking, and it's going to select everything with the same or really similar pixel colors until it hits a pixel that's a lot different, and black is definitely a lot different than white. So it goes right up to that black line and stops, making a perfect selection. All right, so I want to color every other egg here to start with. So I'll color this egg, and then I'm going to select this egg. But look what happened. When I selected this egg is now deselected. So in order to select multiple objects at once, you need to hold Shift. So I'm going to hold Shift, and notice the plus sign there with my magic wand. I'm going to select that egg. I'll come over here and get this one. And there's one back here that I will grab also, and a little piece of it right there. Okay, so with those eggs selected, I'm going to choose a color. So back over to my Tools panel, you'll notice that you have a foreground color, which is currently black, and a background color, which is currently white. You also have a default right here. That little button will bring you right back to where I'm at right now, black and white, which is very useful. So it's good to know, instead of searching for black and white all the time, you can just click that little icon and you'll get there right away. It also has a little arrow that can toggle your foreground and background color, which is also very useful. Now, I don't want my eggs to be black, and when I use the paint bucket to dump my color, it's going to dump whatever's in my foreground color. So I want to change that, and I need to just simply click on that, and my color picker window will pop up. Notice that I'm down here on red, but because I'm clear down here in the corner, it's black. So if I click out here, it'll pull in a color wherever I click. All right, so I want this to look more egg-like, so I'll probably go on somewhere around here. Okay, that looks good, and say okay. All right, and then your paint bucket tool is actually bundled with the gradient tool right here. So again, we need to click and hold, go to the paint bucket tool until it appears on top. Now, it's really important that you switch off of your line drawing layer and onto your eggshells layer, because that's where we want this color to go. On the eggshell layer, you're going to go ahead and just dump into one of those selections, and it'll dump into all of the eggs that you have selected, just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to Command D to deselect. Now I'm going to color the rest of the eggs. So going back to my line drawing, back to the magic wand, I'm going to select the eggs that I have left, and holding Shift, a little piece of that egg there, here, 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 and here. Okay, but I want these eggs to be a different color, so I'm going to go to my color picker again and maybe make this more in the green range like that. Switching back to eggshells, back to my paint bucket, and there we have it. The last thing we're going to do for this portion of the tutorial is we're going to save. So you may have noticed that when we started this project, you can still see it up here, that this was a .jpg, a JPEG. But if I go to File, Save Now, notice that it's now a .psd. And that is because we've added layers. So as soon as you add one layer, it will automatically want to save it as a PSD file, because JPEGs don't have layers. If you do save it as a JPEG, you can do that, but it will flatten, so your layers will be gone. So the eggshell color will be on the same layer as your line drawing, and it will no longer be a Photoshop file. So we want to go ahead and save it as a Photoshop file, and then save. This will come up if you've opened in default, and you can say don't show again and OK. All right, now if you look in your folder, you should have two documents in there. You have your JPEG, your original, and now you have your Dinosaurs, which is now a Photoshop file. That's it for this portion of this tutorial. There will be more tutorials coming up to finish this project. Please like if you liked it, subscribe, and I will see you next time.